Hello, my friends. I'm procrastinating. Part of the reason I'm doing this video today and not on Friday as per usual is I'm procrastinating. I mean, the other part is I'm traveling on Friday, so it'll probably be a lot less convenient. Um, I've got a big project I'm supposed to be working on. Due date's well off, so I'm not too worried about that. And my client has broken the project down into multiple deliverables. So my next deadline is still a little bit off. So I've got room. I've got time. I can procrastinate. It's it's something I know I can do. I've had a lot of experience doing this type of thing before. It's a writing project, so I'm not worried. I'm not worried about timelines. I'm not worried about deadlines yet. I will be at some point. So I'm procrastinating. I'm doing the video. I'm going to be reading a book. I'm going to be writing in my notebook. Because even though this is what I want to do in my life, this is the thing I enjoy doing in my life, and I am confident when I crack down and start actually writing the project. I started writing it first thing this morning as I woke up before getting out of bed. Because that's what happens sometimes is you start, in my case, I start storytelling before I get out of bed. Um, I'm not worried about getting it done. At some point, I will have to knuckle down. I will have to do the project. It doesn't intimidate me. It doesn't scare me. It's pretty straightforward. And in some respects, that may actually be working against me. Usually, if I'm a bit more intimidated by a project, I jump on it a little more aggressively because I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to fulfill the deadline. I always do. But, you hedge your bets and you know your capacity. But here's the thing. Like it's even though I'm procrastinating on one storytelling project, the reality is I'm going to procrastinate by doing other storytelling things. Some of them things I've been wanting to get back to, others really passive, and we'll see what comes up as I go along. Reading a book really doesn't take a lot of energy other than just the mindset to sit down and read the book. And in the meantime, I'm sitting outside on a friend's lanai enjoying some beautiful sunny weather after a couple days of rain. Um, Procrastination is part of being creative. It's part of doing your thing. It's part of expressing yourself and expressing your art. Because ultimately, if you're really, really honestly, if you're really passionate about this, if this is really something you want to do, if this is something you don't know how not to do, kind of like me in storytelling, even when you're procrastinating, you're going to be doing some version of it. Right? For a lot of the science writing I do, part of my procrastination is research. Stupidly enough, research that's part of the project itself. But it's not the writing, it's not the creative part in that sense, or at least in my head. It's me getting information so that I can create something based on that information. Procrastination can be, just to create this video, it took me about 15-20 minutes. Part of that was my friend, whose place I'm staying at, was looking for a second coffee. She's at work right now. So I made her a coffee, delaying me coming and talking to you for a few minutes. Procrastination is a way to consider it a warm-up. Consider it a warm-up, like, in theory, I'm not big on working out, but in theory, you don't just immediately go into your workout. You want to stretch, you want to get ready, you want to do whatever it is people do when they're getting ready to do something physically strenuous. Your thing is your version of that, or at least a version of that. So procrastination is giving yourself space. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's giving yourself time to get into what it is you're going to do. And sometimes it's just about rest. Sometimes, procrastination's gotten a bad name because it's the thought is like we're procrastinating because of fear. And I promise you, I'm not procrastinating because of fear. Um, I'm not procrastinating because I feel ill prepared. Preparing is part of that. I'm just procrastinating because it's what I need to work on is less appealing than some of the other things I could be doing, including making this video. So there's nothing wrong with procrastination, but you also want to make sure that at some point, if you seriously do want to do the thing that you've been procrastinating on, you just sit down and you do it. And recognize that you don't have to do all of it at once. You don't have to sit down, start, and go and not stand up again until you get to the other end, depending on what your thing is. You don't have to completely reassemble that engine block if mechanics is your thing. You don't have to complete the painting on that canvas. You don't have to play the entire symphony or compose an entire symphony. You can do small bits. You can practice parts. You can write, in my case, you can write a word, a sentence, a paragraph, and then move on to another part. When I'm telling my screenwriting students about, we're going to be talking about structure of story and that type of thing in this week's class. And it's not about having every element perfectly. It's not about opening up a document, starting on page one and going until the story's over. It's about hitting the things that are more obvious, hitting the things that seem to have crystallized first, and then using those crystals of ideas, of thoughts, of action, and building out on them and seeing where they go. Some of them you'll end up getting rid of because they really didn't serve the purpose aside from getting you started. Again, my client's done me a favor by breaking this project down into 7 smaller projects. So I'm really dealing with 7 deliverables. But even just for me, I need to write a paragraph based on some of the research. I need to write another paragraph based on some of the research, and so on and so on and so on. So some days, success is writing 100 words on a project. Some days, starting the 100 words is how I write 2,000 words on a project. My book on creativity, I started working on it again after several months of fallow, and sat down and wrote probably another 1,500 words for the book, right? Part of working on that book is figuring out, I've been writing sections based on the ideas that come into my head and interviews I've done with creative people I know. And now I have to sort of begin to organize that, which is its own thing. And I'm not worried about that because I know I can do that as well. So that's the thing. Cut yourself a little bit of slack. Allow yourself to procrastinate, at least for a while. Deadlines are great. Deadlines are wonderful because they give you a target to aim for. By this date, I need to have accomplished this. In the interim between now and this date, assuming you haven't left everything to the very last second, what do I need to accomplish? If I did the same amount every day, can I divide it by how many days are left? And just do that. Odds are you're going to do more some days, and that'll give you the freedom to do less others. Being passionate about something, being excited about something doesn't mean you're constantly on, right? And if you're not constantly on, if you're procrastinating, if you're reluctant on a day, if you just don't do it on a day, that doesn't mean it's not your passion. It just means today wasn't today. You're not on 100% of the time. That's not a passion. That's an obsession. You're not on all the time. And yet, on some level, I think most of us are. Right? Again, I'm procrastinating on a writing thing. So what am I going to do? I'm going to write. I'm going to research. I'm going to read. I'm going to everything involving storytelling. Right? Or I might just sit and look at the pond that's over there with the birds that are flying around it and wading in the water and see if there's any gators. And definitely there's I saw some turtles earlier. And there's even deer that have been coming out of the woods. So I get to sit and watch and just simply absorb my world. That's me doing my thing. So if you find yourself procrastinating, if you're starting to realize you haven't done your thing in a little while, cut yourself some slack. Use that as a motivation to just do a little thing. Just do a little something. It's amazing how you can simplify the process down to smaller pieces. And you can do those easily. And the minute you start doing those, the desire, the energy, the psychic connection to whatever it is you're doing builds up. And suddenly you're in a flow. Small pieces, small increments, small forward progress is sufficient. And then when the deadline's approaching, then you kind of maybe have to push yourself a little bit harder. But just do your thing because you're enjoying it. The deadlines, ultimately, if you're consistent, the deadlines take care of themselves. And you get back to why you're doing this, which is because you enjoy it. I know this project's going to be fine, the one I'm procrastinating. It's going to be fine because they've all been fine up to this point, and I'm comfortable with the subject matter. Not worried about it. Hopefully you're not worried about fallow periods you might be going through where you're not doing your thing. Hopefully you're not worried about where your thing might go. Yeah, don't worry about it. Enjoy the thing. Enjoy what you do. Enjoy your passions. Always, thanks for listening. Leave a comment. Share the thing. How do you get out of procrastination when you realize you're procrastinating? Or what sends you into procrastination? Let's make this a conversation. Again, leave a comment, share the video, subscribe to the video series, and we'll keep talking. Have a great week, weekend, time ahead. Do your thing. It's exciting. Take care, everybody.